Alright, I'm back. Sorry about the delay. As you can see, the time has, well, for you guys, there's no delay at all, but the time has went forward quite a bit. And, yeah, but let's get back at it. So where we left off is we got the map working, we got the tile working, Leaflet is up. So that's a good spot, but it took us a little while to get here. It did take an hour to get here. So let's try to speed things up a little bit. I don't know how well that will go, but let's try. So we're going to set up the top bar and set up the proper position for this next. Real quick. Where is my stuff? Alright, here we go. So right now we commented out the top bar stuff. Let's comment all that back in. Right? And then let's change the top over here from 60 nope, not the map box, from 50 pixels to 75. I think that's why it's not aligned right, but we'll see. Why didn't that update? Alright, just had to refresh the page and we're good to go. Everything is aligned perfectly. Our top bar is up, real-time markers. This logo we're going to change. I will make a logo at the end of this and put an actual logo. This is a placeholder logo. This video is not sponsored by Vue. I have nothing to do with Vue except that this is just a tutorial that uses Vue. So yeah, and this is just a temporary placeholder. It will be changed. Okay. Now, our top bar is a little big. I'm going to make that smaller real quick. I'm going to change it from 75 to 50 as well. So it'll be the height of the logo. Yeah, that's fine for me. And I'm going to change the app.view. I'm going to change the top back to 50. For the map box. And now we're still aligned we have to add 50 at the bottom. I mean, add 25 to the bottom. But since we're in rem, I believe that should be what? 40 is good. We still have the scroll bar here, and I want to have the OpenStreetMap contributor stuff available. So it's not 40 rem. Let's try 39 rem. What? Oh. 39 rem. We still have a little bit. 39.2. There's still a little sliver. A little sliver of white is still there, and now it's perfectly gone. Everything is at the bottom. It's looking good. And you guys are going to have to change the stuff to fit your own like window and all that. And then you guys can use media queries to break it apart as it gets smaller or bigger. Or you could even set the height to be like 100% and the width to be 100% and just not worry about the marker like this getting covered up. I don't know. There's a couple of ways to do the CSS. This is not a CSS code along. This is more about the real-time markers, which we're going to get to now. Since we have the everything set up for our Vue side, at least for the visuals, we can now move on to getting Flask set up, and we can now also move on to getting this Vue project distributed. Well, not this Vue project served through the Flask routing stuff. So yeah, let's get started on that. We're gonna go back to the code, but before we do, actually, let me explain a little bit of how this is going to go down. So we have the npm run serve, which serves our stuff to the local environment, so we can actually work on it. But when we want to move it to the distribution, we want to move it onto the server, we're going to run npm run build to create like I believe it's called a minified version, or well, you're creating a dist folder, which is actually like compression of all the stuff that we have. So you don't actually need the source folder, the public folder. Everything is in the dist folder. So if we do a change directory into dist, we can see that there's an index.html file. That index.html file is our single page app. So yeah. uh, and so what we can do is serve this index.html through Flask because it's an HTML file. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back over here. For now, I'm just going to leave npm run serve because I have the build set up. Okay. And now I'm going to create a new terminal. And I'm going to go to my that same directory. Alright, but this time I have my conda environment already set up. So I'm going to do conda activate web dev. That's my environment. And now I have Flask installed. For you guys might want to set up a virtual environment or also just have a conda environment. I would go with a conda environment, as you guys see. But yeah, so the conda environment, you could just pip install, or in the virtual environment, just pip install the Flask and then pip install Flask-socketio. Okay, and just pip install any other dependencies that comes in. Anytime it says this package is not installed and you're following this tutorial, just pip install that. Unless it's a JavaScript unless it's a JavaScript library, then you want to npm install. Yeah. Okay, so now that that's done, this is created. We're in web dev, but I'm gonna go to the Visual Studio Code, and over here I'm going to create a new file in the root of this, so not within like the public folder or the source folder. The source folder is where our components is at and where app.vue and main.js is. That's for the Vue stuff. For the Flask stuff, we're just going to create new file called app.py, right? So if you have worked in Flask, you guys know the kind of normal Flask directory that comes. Usually have a template folder. You have your what is it? The assets folder, all that stuff. But for this, since our main front end is already in Vue.js, and most of our stuff is in Vue.js, all we really need is the app.py file to deal with the routing and the server stuff. So you can have everything in one folder, and it actually is very clean this way. Some people have separate folders for their Vue.js side and for the Flask side. I don't know. I find this quite a cleaner version. Okay. Now I'm gonna look at my reference code for the setting up the app.py just uh for the index.html, so for the serving of it, and then we'll see how the Flask-socketio stuff goes, because the server side of the socketio stuff will also be in this file in the app.py. So we're going to do, first of all, I have to make sure I'm in the right Python. Oh no, I should be good. Okay, so we're going to do from Flask import Flask. Okay, and we're going to do render template. Okay, and then also we want to import requests. That should be good for now. Oh, and just because I'm going to import OS as well. So if we ever, when we need it, we'll need it. I don't know if we're going to need it, but I'm just going to leave the OS in there because I usually do. It comes in handy when you have to do like path stuff and all that. But all right, so we have our Flask import done. Let me save, and now let's we have to initialize our app, and then we have to have our index file being rendered through the render template. But the interesting thing we're going to do in here is, instead of having our render template folder, we're going to make the dist our render template folder so that we can access index.html right from the dist folder. So when we work on Vue.js, we do npm run. When we're done working with Vue.js, we do npm run build. That will update the dist folder, which will update in the Flask project, because the Flask project will be pointing to the dist folder. Hopefully that makes sense, but it'll make more sense once we see it. So we're going to do app Flask, all right, and then we're going to underscore name. And if you've done a Flask project, you probably already have seen this. But this is how you initialize Flask. So Flask also has a static folder, which, if we look in the dist, the static folder I'm going to have to create a static folder in here, aren't I? Yeah. Well, this is the dist folder. Within the dist folder, we want to create a static folder, and I'll do that right after writing this. And then we want to set up our template folder equal to dist. So one second, let me just make sure. Very interesting. These should be within a static folder, but they're not. Let me Google this real quick. Yeah, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time looking at this. I'm gonna be right back and just do it that way, because you guys are gonna watch me just stare at this for a little bit. Because I gotta figure out why the static folder isn't there, because it usually is. Let me see what's going on. I'll be right back. I'm back. That actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. Yeah, I have to add the view config file, which my bad for forgetting that. That was not smart, but yeah. So I have to add the view.config file so that when you run npm run build, you have a static file and all that jazz. And also so that you have your hashing set to true, so whenever changes get made to the build, it actually gets changed in the browser as well. Because if you don't have that, sometimes your browser will cache the old changes, and you won't see the updates happening because it's actually showing you the old version and not the updated version. I don't know if you guys If you guys come across a problem where every time you build, your build isn't actually updating, well, it's probably because your browser is caching the old build. Yeah. But anyways, we're going to create a new file in the root directory, and we're going to call it vue.config.js, and this is the vue config file. And for this file, we're going to do module.exports, similar to what we see in the Google search right here. I ate spicy noodles, and that's not good. But yeah, module.exports. I'm just going to copy that over and close it. There we go. And now in this, we want to first set our assets dir to be static. Okay, that's very important because now whenever we do npm run build, we'll have a static folder which our app will reference right here, static folder. Okay, next we want to do file name hashing, and this is what will allow hashes to be at the end of every file. So every time you build, the file names will be different, which will get picked up by your browser. So every time you build, you will get the actual updates showing. Sometimes it takes some time without this to show the actual updates. That's pretty good. We're gonna leave it at this, and then also we have to set up a dev server. Well, we don't have to, but we should set up dev server and proxy the request. Alright, let's go ahead and set that up as well, because this is going to be needed for when we, just so when we're developing and working with this, everything is works fine. So we're going to do dev server, and in that we're going to put host as the local host, which is 127.0.0.1, and then we're going to give it port 8080 because that's the port we run on. You know, we can change the port, but 8080 works for this. So this Vue.js on development will be on port 8080, and then Flask will be on port 5000, I believe. But anyways, okay, so we're gonna proxy that, and one of them will be if it's /API, so that's for our API endpoints. Um, 5000, because that will be the port that will be running on. And then change origin true. Okay. And then the other one, we're going to be doing the static. It's for non-API endpoint stuff. But that's part of the Flask side. 127.0.0.1 5000, and then we're also going to change origin equal to true. And now that should be good for our config. Yeah, that should be good for our config. And then that also should get our disk static folder set up for when we do the build. So let's test that out by doing the build. As you can, I actually had to switch to one of my test projects just to see if we were still getting the static folder, and yeah, we were. So that worked out. Forward alongs, and then okay, and then npm run build. Let's see if that's working fine. Yes, now everything comes into the static folder, and we have hashing at the end of the name. Before we didn't have hashing at the end of the name. So that's cool. I'm glad that that's working now. But we still do not have it being served through the... We don't even know if Flask is working yet, alright? This config file was just to get our build set up. Alright, now that that's good, we can X out of that, and we can continue working on the Flask app. So over here, we have initiated the Flask app, so that's good. But we're going to come upon a problem, which is the course problem, right? The cross-site origin request problem, which because we have because we're going to be having API endpoints, and that will be coming from different ports. When we're in development mode, we're going to need to have our cross-site set up. This isn't a problem when we serve the Flask app, but when we're developing, we're going to be running the Vue.Js and the Flask side by side, so that we get real-time updates in the Vue.js. We don't have to keep on building to get our updates in the Flask app. But then once we're done, we could do one overall build and just serve everything through the Flask app. So, and for that, I guess I'm going to have to import course as well. So from Flask course import course. Should be good. And we'll go ahead and type in course equals course. Course. App. And then we have to give it a resources. Sources equal our API. So it's for our API endpoint. If it's slash API, and everything for our endpoint will be at that yeah, except allow the cross origin. Anything past that, yep. And then for those, we can allow from any origin. So if our route is for an API route, we allow for any origin to access that. And then in the future, you might want to add like just your during development, you might not want to do this, but for I mean during production, you might not want to do this, but for right now, it's going to be fine if we do origins and allow for any origin to be able to request from our API endpoint. But really, we're not even going to be using an API, and like we're not going to be using an API endpoint because we're going to be using WebSockets. So it's interesting. We're still going to have to do core stuff for the WebSocket. We're gonna have to allow cross-site origin for that, but it's done in a different way. So this is just for if you in the future you guys want to add API endpoints, you could do it doing this. Just make sure that route is set up properly for the API endpoint. But and I'll also actually we'll do something very simple for the backend as well, just to show that our backend is up and running. But yeah, okay. So we have that. We have our app working, and we have our course set up. Next, we want to set up our routing, right, for the index.html file. We have the index.html file in our in our template folder, which is the /dist folder, right? Where's my dist in this? Didn't I just build? Very interesting. Here, let me check. Okay, so now we have a problem. Oh no, our dist folder's right there. Why isn't it here? There, I had to refresh. Okay, so we have a dist folder, we have a static within the dist folder, and we're referencing it right here. So whenever we want to like render any HTML from within this folder, we have to use the render template function, which I'll show how to do it. But first, we're going to do app.route, and this is how we set up our routing. So when we're in the root, we're going to add defaults equals path, and then just leave that blank. We're also going to do app.route. Then we're going to do any path. Okay, and that should catch every path. We do a def. No, this is the function. We're gonna call it a catch all because every path will be passed to this. And then we're gonna do if, and this is just because it's good to do it this way. When we go into debug mode, we can use these requests right here. So we're going to do request.get host 8080, and then just that. So we're gonna add in the path afterwards. So we'll do dot format path, and we're gonna get the text of it. Kinda like that. Oh, that should be there. There we go. Okay, and that's just something I do because you don't really need these lines. This is just for the if you go into app.debug mode, it helps you debug. But I don't really use it that much. I just have it there because it came in handy once, and I don't know. I just have it's easy to have if you ever go into debug mode, you know. The return now is actually where the actual part comes in, the part that you need, and that is if you're not in debug mode, you want to return the render template instead of the text. Your template index.html, which is within our render template folder. So let's see what that does, but first we have to now set up the kind of main part of getting everything running. So we have our app stuff set up, but we have to get it to run. So we're going to do if name equals, you know, and you guys have seen this if you've worked in a Flask project, and if you haven't, well, this is definitely not the code along to learn Flask in, but I appreciate the tenacity, or whatever you call it. And for that, first, sorry, I had to look at my phone. For that, we're going to do server is, because we want to print just to see when it's running properly. Running on localhost. Yay. And we're going to, now we have to get the app to actually run. And that's going to be app.run. And I want it set up to run on port equals 5,000. Not 500, but 5,000. And yeah, that should be good. Let's see if this runs and get it to just test it. We have the this running right here, right? The Vue.Js on port 8080. But then we can go to Flask. Make sure you have your conda environment set up. I mean, let's go to the other. Let's go to the same directory again, but this time activate your conda environment, and then do python app.py. And now we have the the app running in on port localhost port 5000, and we also have the Vue.js part running in local port 8080, not localhost. So let's test that out. We still have the Vue.js side of things working right here, which is good. And then I really hope this works. Yep. And now on localhost 5000, we also have the Vue.js app working, but it's being served through Flask. The reason why we know that is because whatever path you give, it will still serve you the index file. So anything you do, you will still get the basic index file, And you guys can change that. You guys can do whatever you want. For me, it actually helps me debug, and also in the future, I can add a error file, a custom error file through Vue.js. So it works out, and it works out also when you have render templates. So I mean not render template, when you have routing, Vue routing, this will work with that as well. So it works pretty nice. Okay, and then if you do the same thing, and that's because of our catch-all, by the way. If you do the same thing here, it shouldn't work. Oh. Yeah, that's just how Vue is, huh? Well, whatever. Very interesting. When Vue routing is set up, it works a little bit different. I don't usually make single page apps. I usually make multiple pages, so I have Vue router always set up. But I guess, yeah, this is fine. How do we make sure that our this localhost 500 is working on the back end, right? We'll do that by passing it another route, and this route will be our API endpoint. This route is the route where if anything wants to connect to this using Axios, or whatever else you can, and it will give us a return. So we're gonna do app route API. So this is what lets us get the cross-site set up. So if I am on my port 8050, and I make a request from Vue.js to my port 5000 or to the Axios port, it will proxy it forward or whatever. So back end, that will be our test, and we're going to add methods. Oh my god, methods equals get post. Return hello. Now let's check to make sure. And before I do that, I'm going to. Oh, look. One of the ways we could tell that our backend was working is that our requests to the backend were going here, and we were getting the yeah, the 200. But Let's rerun that and see if our backend is working fine. And this is not really the way to tell if your backend is working. What you want to do is make an Axios call from Vue.js to this, but meh, for now it's good. Yep, and we get the hello return, so that's perfect. Our backend is working, and if I do the same thing here, it won't work. That's because this route is actually not going anywhere. Because on the Vue.js side, 8080 is Vue.js alone. So, yeah. But if I get rid of that and I just go to 500, 5000, you see that our map is up and all our Vue front end stuff is perfectly working fine, and it's being served through Flask. That's what we wanted for the at least for the time, like at least for getting it served and everything. And what you guys would do is probably move this to an Nginx server, move the dist file, move the app.py, move the dist folder, the app.py file, and what else do you guys need? The templates is there. Maybe the config file would be good too. Yeah, I think you just need those two and you're good to go usually. But yeah. Anyways, let's now get the socketio stuff working, huh? Now this is where the meat of everything is. This is what we've been waiting for. I want to check where my time is real quick. 22 minutes in, not bad. And you know, the other video was probably a little bit long too, so let's say it took us about 35 minutes to get to this point after our break, so overall we're probably at an hour and 35. But anyways, okay, let's try to get the socketio stuff working next. And for that, we're going to do from, and I already have socketio installed in the conda environment. You guys might have to pip install Flask-socketio, but there you go. You can just install whatever it gives you an error for. You know, like pip install. If it gives you an error, ask for that. Just pip install it. And then emit. Our socketio is kind of like our Flask right here. It actually we have to initialize it, and then our emit is how we send information from the server to all connected clients or to a specific client or whatever. But okay, so now we're going to have to wait. That's not right. Huh. Now we're going to have to set up our socketio part of this. So socketio equals socketio. We initialize it and we pass it the app, and then we do resources equals, and this is where we have the no, this is where we do the cross-site origin, but this is not where we do, that's not how we do it. In this, we do cross-site origin by saying course allowed origins equals, yeah. Yep, and that will get at least it just set up. And then we can add we're going to add a, so the socketio stuff will go over here, but I want to also, in socketio we don't actually serve it this way, or we don't actually get it running this way. We don't do app.run, we do, since we pass app to the socketio, we're going to end up doing socketio.run instead. So socketio.run, and in that, actually, we're also going to pass it the app again. And the port, which is 5000. Now let's try running this again just to make sure that at least the app is still up and running. And now you see we get a different message. We get servers running on, we just get the message that we're printing. It doesn't say, oh, we're running on port 5000 right here, but we should still be running on port. Let's refresh. And yep, our page is still there, but now we're running through Socket.io. So that's pretty cool. But we can't really see the connection. We can't see WebSockets or whatever yet. So to be able to actually debug and make sure that it's working properly, we have to get our first function going. And the first function is the connection function. Whenever a client connects to the server, whenever he goes online or whenever he logs in, we want him to be connected to the server. Okay, and we want to get a message saying that the client connected. So we will do that by doing getting a connection event set up. So we're going to do socket.io.on connect. Whenever our client will send the connection function, the connection emit or whatever, we're going to do client connected. We're going to do this function right here. We're not going to call it client connect. We'll call it client connect. Okay, and then in this, okay, we will emit back to the client we'll send a message that says connected. Okay, so probably in the beginning I'll just have like a little text box or text div or whatever that says disconnected, and whenever the client connects, it'll pass this message to the client, back to the client, and then we'll just print whatever this message is, and in this case it'll say connected. So this way we'll be able to see whenever the client is connected or disconnected. Okay. I'm thinking, where do I want to put this? I could put it in the top bar, and honestly, that's kind of where I'm going with. But I'm going to have to Sorry, excuse me. Whew. I'm going to have to pass the top bar an actual I'm going to pass the top bar the message, because we're gonna connect in the app.vue folder first. Let me just Google. Okay, we're gonna go to Google because I don't remember how to pass components props. Every time I search something about components or stuff like that, always React comes in. I can't wait for Vue.js to overtake it. Hopefully it does. That's exactly what I want. And this is the little thing I was looking for. We're gonna go to top bar, and we're going to paste in the prop stuff right after the right inside the export default stuff. And instead of doing it that way, we're gonna write message. string. Let's do it. We'll do that, and then in the app components. In the app, well, we're going to have to set up our data, where all our variables will be. Our data, and then a semicolon, or, and then, you know what always bugs me? How sometimes it goes from 2 to 4 spaces. I like to go 4 spaces. Some people love 2 spaces. I don't know what it's all about. But I guess that's just what life is. And now my spacing is all messed up all around. So I'm gonna take time, just fix the spacing. And now in our data, we have to do a return, and then we're going to return it the functions. I mean the variables. So a message, and first of all, it's going to be disconnected, and so we'll do. Is that how you pass it? Let me just make sure again. Yep. And so now the top bar should get our message, and to display it in the top bar, we're going to want real-time markers is right there, and then also we're going to want to do h3, do those brackets, and we'll do message. So that should display our message for us. Oh, okay. So over here, no updates will happen. Over here, we have our disconnected message because this is actually our development Vue.js frontend, and then when we run the build, that's when updates will come to our Flask side, our port 5000. But I'll X out of that, and when we go into development, and when we go into production, and when we build again, we'll make sure that it's working fine over there. But anyways, yeah, so we have our H1 right here, and we have an H3. I want the H3 to be on the other side. So we'll do dot top bar H3 right equals 0. Pixels, position, axis. And that moves us to the other side, which is perfect. But our padding is off, so we'll do margin right. What do we use? 25 pixel for everything so far, and 25 pixels. So we have disconnected. When we connect to the server, it will say connected, ideally. But right now, we're not set up for that because we do not have the client socket side set up yet. We have the Flask side set up on the server, but how is our client going to communicate to the server? Well, it needs its own client socket IO stuff. So to do that, first of all, I'm going to go back to the console where our Vue.js stuff is running. I'm going to click Control-C to end that, and then I'm going to npm install socket IO client. But before I do that, let me just make sure how to actually install it. Alright. That's what I need right there. Copy that to the clipboard by clicking on it. And now we just Control Shift V to paste it in. Oh no. There we go. And let's run it. And it added 12 packages. I believe the packages have been all useful, hopefully. Client. And now that we have the npm install of the Socket.io client, we have to actually import the Socket.io client. And we'll do that in the app.vue file. So we'll do in app.vue, we'll do const io equals require Socket.io client, and that will get our Socket.io into the app file. And then we'll set up our functions for the our connection functions. And to do that, first of all, in data, we have to set up our connection to the port. So we do that by saying socket is IO, and which is the IO up here, which we've gotten from the require. And we're going to do ws dot slash localhost 5000 because that's where the Socket.io server is running. This will connect to that. And what we actually want to make sure is that we're going to be using WebSockets. So we're going to go ahead and add the curly braces, and we'll do transports WebSocket, and that'll make sure that at least it'll make sure that the Socket.io is using WebSockets instead of polling or something. And also, just to make sure that our path is right, and actually this is fine for now. This is fine for now. And we do have to make sure that this is actually working. So then in the mounted, we're going to do a onConnected function. So whenever the app gets started, the mounted function is going to be called. And in the mounted, we're going to go this.socket.on on connect. So this right here will fire our connection function in the server that the client just connected, and then the server will emit the onConnect function, which will cause this to go. Wait, I think I have that backwards. Give me 1 second. Let me just write this and then I'll explain it a little in the forwards way. This would be the message. Yes, so the server emits the onConnect function and passes the connected, and then the client will fire the connected function. And then, yeah, I mean, this should be good. Let's see how this works out. Our app is still working. I'm going to npm, it shouldn't be, so I have to refresh the page. But npm run build that. See if there's any errors. Man. Oh yeah, that's a simple one. Add a little derpy period right there. Oh, this should be in quotation, single quotes. So it's not an actual function or anything, it's literally just a string that we're going to pass it to the on. Yeah. Nice. So our it did build. That's good to see. Now let's get the Flask running again. Server's back up. Let's see what happens when we go to 5,000. We get the connected message, which means that whoopee, our connection to the WebSockets is working. How do we make sure though? How do we know for sure? We inspect. So we go to the inspect, and then over here is like you could see your HTML and you could see the console and all that. This is what do you call this? The debugger, or I don't know what this whole thing is called, but yeah, you have your console right here. You can see all your stuff. You have your debugger right here, which is cool, and it says webpack stuff. But what we want to do is go to network, and this is where we can see everything that's happening on the network, and we want to go to WS. That's strange. Nothing is popping up here. That's not good. There we go. Now you can see everything that's, our tiles are getting set up and all of our requests and all that. We want to go to WS, and here we can see the WebSocket stuff getting set up. And we see that our WebSockets is being used. Still, you don't actually see what's being messaged back and forth, right? There is a way to see it. I just don't know where it is. Where'd it go? Ah, responses. On the side here, I'm using Firefox, but I know this works in Chrome as well. You just have to go to the WS, and actually in Chrome, when you click it, the responses stuff should open up, but it's response. And then you see right here where on 40, the connection is made. Then on connected, then you have the SID of the person who's connected. The SID is important because that's actually what we're going to use. Actually, what is used to identify the person that is connected during their connection time. So if I disconnect and reconnect, my SID will be different. So it's not something you can use like a username or something to uniquely identify a person throughout their, like throughout the time that they've ever connect. But at least for one time when they connect and leave, until they leave, this will be their SID. So every time they refresh the page, they should get a new SID. Let's test that out. And yeah, see, we have a different SID. So our socket.io connection is working, and our stuff is basically all set up for us to now get the marker updates. So now we're going to switch back to Vue.js and actually work on the Folium side, where whenever we click on the map, we want to get the latitude and the longitude of wherever we click. So for example, if I want to click on the bank, right, and I want to put a marker on the bank, then I have to get the latitude and the longitude of this exact location, and then I have to create a marker and pass it that latitude and longitude, and so that the marker knows where it should be placed. Once the marker is placed, I also pass that latitude and longitude to every single client so they can place markers on their own maps. So everybody will get the real-time update. That makes sense? Well, even if it don't, well, we're going to make it happen. So let's now we're switching back to our Vue.js stuff. And now we actually need to do one thing interesting, and is that we have to pass the socket. We have the socket stored right here, but we want to pass it to the map box. So, you know, we don't need to pass it to the top bar, but we do need to pass it to the map box. So let's go to map.view, and in here we're also going to have props. So let me just copy and paste the prop stuff that we I'm getting a little tired. So we'll get the props right there, but instead of message, this is going to be socket. And I'm not going to give it anything. I don't know what type of data type that is. I'm just checking in my reference code how I did the props passing. In the reference code, I actually do it this way. Interesting. Pass it a list, and it comes up as socket. Nice. Okay, I like that a lot better. Won't lie. But okay. So now that we have our socket set up, the prop set up, we can pass it in. We're gonna do dot socket equals socket. There we go. And now our map should have the socket variable within the map, which is actually needed. It's needed for when we do the emits and the, when we do the ons and emits. I don't know. The on function is when something happens, we want this to happen. We want another function to fire when an event happens. So if, let's say, our app doesn't emit and we emit create marker, well then on our Vue.js side we're going to do socket.on create marker. So whenever that gets emitted, that's when something will happen. We could do the same thing the other way, where we can emit from the client to the server as well. And that's actually what happens when you have the connection event. But anyways, yeah. So we're going to be in the map, and now we need to create a method. Okay, we're gonna install Bootstrap 5 as well. So I'm gonna go to the console real quick, and right here I'm gonna do npm install Bootstrap, and that should install Bootstrap 5 if I am correct, and I hope I am. But it doesn't matter because all I'm gonna be using is the CSS. So over here I'm gonna go to the main.js. I'm gonna do import Bootstrap slash what is it? Dist slash css slash bootstrap dot min dot css, and that should be good enough for us to at least get a easy buttons set up, because I hate having to set up buttons more than anything really. Let's do a test. We're gonna go to the app. I'm gonna X out of the unnecessary stuff for now. Okay, we're gonna go to map, and we're going to create a button real quick. We're gonna do div Flask button primary hello. Actually, we'll just call it what it should be called, and that's go online. Oh no. Okay, good. That's why, because I got the npm run serve. I was like, oh no, nothing's. What? Okay, I've never seen that before. Very interesting. Here, let me actually go back to the main.js and just kind of comment this out. Let's see if this fixes whatever is going on. So what, did our boot install npm installing Bootstrap wrecked us? That's crazy. Because I have installed, here, let me make sure. Let me just X out of that and reopen it up and see if maybe something like that. Yeah, it looks like very interesting. Looks like it's some whatever. Well, I guess I broke everything. That's always fun. I'm gonna copy and paste this error, see what's going on. Now that's interesting. I've never had this problem before. So let's see if that fixes it. We do have a Vue config right here, and we have our dev server set up. So maybe this will fix it. Okay, and now let's try run serve. That didn't fix it. I guess debug. Let's try that. I really never heard this problem before, so it's so strange to me. But it's okay. I should not have installed Bootstrap. One of my biggest errors always is trying to overdo things. Hmm. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually set up that again, the info, right? I'm going to set it up to info. But now I'm going to build. Yes, socket is not defined. We can fix that. But it should be. For now, let's just X out of that. See if that will at least get us back to where we should be. And it does. And it does. What the hell? Socket is right there. Completely defined. Let's try something else. Oh no. Should be what? Now let's do npm run build. I should do a serve just to see if it's working. Fill with error, socket is not defined. Are the props in the wrong place? What the heck is going on here? Ah, it has to be like this. And that should get us somewhere. Okay, now when we do a build, should keep us running. Okay, so the build is working perfectly now. Let's hope serve is working. No. Options should not have additional properties. So what, I can't serve anymore? Funny thing is, like, we don't really need, like, obviously we don't want it like this. We don't need it to work, though. Should I try this? At this point, I'm just trying random stuff to see if it'll fix it. Can't believe installing npm, like, I mean, installing Bootstrap ruined me. Ruined me. Uninstalling it didn't fix nothing. That's so weird. What am I even trying to do? This it was in the Vue config. I'll just keep adding things, I guess, and hope for the best. I don't know what else to say. Nope. What is the root path for this? I don't know. Let's see something. What if we just take all this out from the dev server? I just want to see if I can get the npm serve to work again. Good. At least that's an error I know how to deal with. I just have to restart everything real quick. Alright, I'm just gonna restart everything real quick. Because things are working wonky and I haven't seen it work like this. Now we shouldn't have a file watcher. Yeah, okay. So that, I guess, closing code and closing the other, oh my god, closing code and closing all the consoles actually somehow magically fixed it. I don't know how that works, but I guess sometimes you just have to restart everything, huh? So that's fun. Alright, well, we're back, and let's actually uncomment this out now, now that things are kind of working. And let's see if we leave everything uncommented out, will it work still? Will the npm serve still work? Because it didn't before, and it doesn't again. So what fixed it? I think it was this. I guess it was this one. So what fixed it? How was it? How did it? What? Huh? Oh, I guess me just having everything commented out, which I don't understand. This should not be a problem. So when I do have everything commented out, the server works just fine, even though I didn't have all this commented out before, and it was all working fine. So what happened? Who knows? Such a strange, strange thing. And I don't think it's going to work. Because that was more for when we have API endpoints. But for Socket.io, if we don't actually have Axios calls going and all that, we probably don't need the dev server stuff because we're connecting to port 5000 on from the client side. So let's just try it that way. I can't believe like this is such a strange error. I've never had it before. So we serve, and then we see. Hi, everything is running. Refresh the localhost. We are connected. Okay, interesting. Definitely Bootstrap messed things up. Oh, why isn't our map working now? It's not one problem, it's 1,000 others. It's not just that our map is not working, it's literally not there anymore. Very interesting way to throw another wrench in my plans. So let's go to the map. We still have the static folder and all that, so all that should be good. I'm going to get rid of this button. And let's see if that does anything. Didn't I get rid of the button? I got rid of the button. I shouldn't say go online. Oh, because I'm on 5000. So I'm on the old version of the app. It should be 8050. Oh, 8080. My bad. Yeah, okay, the map is up, and it still says connected, so we're still getting socket.io connection, but we don't have an API endpoint, which is not good. Um, it actually might still work. But anyways, whatever. It just won't work in development. Whatever, that's fine. So now that I still want to install Bootstrap, because after all that, now I feel like I have to. Cool, so Bootstrap, after we installed it and we got rid of the dev server, it's still working. At least our server is still working. That's good. We're gonna add that here, and we're gonna uncomment that out, so that should get our Bootstrap in and also working. Yeah, so we got the button, but for some reason, when we do get the button going, it makes our map disappear, which is strange enough. So let's see why that is. We'll go to our map, try putting it on top. It doesn't just make our map go away, it makes it disappear for good. Which is not ideal. Huh, that's so strange. Uh, and we're also going to make the style scoped again. Let's do dot. Um, maybe position absolute will give us some changes. Nothing. And our Vue logo is just Vue logo now. How strange. But where's our map? It just disappears. It says hasta la vista, baby. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to comment that out. Our map is back. What a interesting map. Let's try something else. Try putting the map within a div. And my brother just walked in, but I gotta figure this out now. Put the map within a div and then see what happens. It just doesn't want to work. I guess I'll have to make another component called overlay, which is not a bad way to do it. Actually, it is a bad way to do it. I need to have these buttons actually working in here. What if I just did that? Let's try to get rid of the Bootstrap stuff and see if just having this alone will make it work. Because I have done this. I've done something very similar to this before. But, so I'm not understanding why it's working so weird. Even small text makes it to where the map just disappears. Oh, wait, the map come back. Yeah, I'm not understanding why having a div next to the leaflet marker div is making it to where the map doesn't display. That's never happened before. But, man, that's great. I'm thinking of a way where we can like get around this. And without doing like annoying tricks, I don't really see a way. The annoying trick is, yeah, there's just, what a pain. And I can't for the life of me figure out why this is the case either. Within that div, if we do have the online button, we could probably change the z-index to where it's always above the map. That didn't work. Nope, it's still always below the map. But then if I take it out, and let's say we just write hello right here, it's going to, it destroys the map. It moves it off. I don't understand that. I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm getting tired, even though it's 5:39 p.m. I haven't slept all day. So I think I'm gonna take a break and we'll come back and see why is this weirdness happening. Alright guys, peace out.